This was perhaps the biggest discovery of the 20th century from the world's first data scientist. The story starts back in 1848. A boy was born in Paris to an exiled noble Genovese family. His father, Raphael, was an Italian civil engineer who had fled Italy like other Italian nationalists. His mother, Marie, was French. Enthusiastic about the German Revolution that year, Raphael and Marie named their newborn son Fritz Willifred. Fritz's name would become Vilfredo upon the family's move back to Italy when he was just 10 years old. Vilfredo would grow up to become an engineer, sociologist, economist, political scientist, and philosopher. And during his life, he would make several important contributions to economics, particularly in the study of income distribution and the analysis of individuals' choices. His legacy as an economist was profound. Vilfredo's books look much more like modern economics than most other texts of that day. Tables of statistics from across the world and intricate charts and graphs. Partly because of his work, the field of economics evolved from a branch of moral philosophy, as practiced by Adam Smith, into a data-intensive field. Vilfredo is perhaps the world's first data scientist. He is credited with helping to develop the field of microeconomics, becoming the first to discover that income follows a distribution. But in 1907, Vilfredo stumbled across an idea that would change the course of history. This revelation would come from a simple observation from, of all places, his vegetable garden. One night, while preparing dinner, Vilfredo noticed something peculiar about the peas in his pea pods. This simple observation turned into action. Vilfredo began to pluck all of the peas off the plant. He opened each pod and made an interesting discovery. Vilfredo found that 80% of the peas came from a mere 20% of his pods. This intrigued the 59-year-old Italian economist. Soon he was applying this ratio to other socioeconomic scenarios. Pareto's most famous finding was that 20% of the people in Italy owned 80% of the land. You may now recognize his last name. His full name was Vilfredo Federico Tommaso Pareto. And Pareto's discovery and contribution was largely unheralded until 2 decades after his death. During World War II, social scientist Joseph Juran uncovered Pareto's work while streamlining shipment processes for the Lend-Lease administration in Washington, D.C. Juran was studying defects in these shipments, and he found that 80% of the defects were attributed to just 20% of the causes. Pretty soon, Juran was applying the rule to a number of scenarios. Here are just a few of his findings. 80% of the world's GDP is controlled by just 20% of the people. 80% of the complaints come from just 20% of the customers. 80% of a company's sales come from a mere 20% of its products. Juran was the first to coin the phrases Pareto's law of unequal distribution and the more common 80-20 rule. Juran's most important application came within the field of quality control. He noticed that the majority of defects came from just a small percentage of all possible causes. Juran famously referred to the Pareto principle as the law of the vital few and the trivial many. So, who are your most important customers and employees? Who are your golden goldfish?